Could this meeting be an email? Or does it actually have to be a meeting? Welcome back. This is the second half of a two-part video series where we are discussing meetings, how to utilize them efficiently, and when you don't need one and what tools to use instead. So if you haven't seen the last video, I will put it in the card for you above or in the description below, where you can go ahead and click on that and watch through if you don't need a meeting, how to determine whether you do need a meeting, and then what tools you can use when you don't need a meeting to be able to communicate effectively with your team or with clients. Today's focus is going to be on how to make your meetings efficient, timely, and more effective for you and for your team. I promise they'll thank you for it and you'll feel much better too. So the first tip I have here is to always come into your meeting with an agenda. Now, I'm not perfect. I'm not a great example of this, but I have been in situations and on teams where they always have an agenda, and I can promise you they go so much smoother when you know exactly what's coming next. I do this by simply using a Google document and putting a couple of little bullet points of things I want to cover, and then allowing some space for me to type in some notes or some tasks and actions that need to happen after the meeting. I recommend that you share the agenda, or that the people who are coming to the meeting know about the agenda and what's on it before the meeting starts. This also gives you an opportunity to ask other people who are coming to the meeting if they have something else they would like to add to the agenda. Tip number 2 is to finish one topic before jumping to another one. I have had this happen before where I'm in a meeting and we are so set on talking about this topic, and then something else pops up that feels more urgent and we jump off this train onto this one and we go down a rabbit hole and we spend the whole time talking about something that wasn't relevant to what we needed to get done that day. There are lots of ways you can gently pull the conversation back to center, but I highly recommend you go back and watch the video about the shelf. If you haven't already tried it, what this method is just writing down ideas that pop up in your head while you're focused on one thing so that you can come back to them. I think the reason we get off track is because we're afraid we're going to forget about that thing that came up in our mind, and sometimes it feels kind of urgent. But remember that this meeting was specifically for this other topic and this task that you wanted to get done. So write down the thing as it comes to your mind. Assure the people that are on the meeting with you that we can cover this topic at another time and that it will be a priority. Another option is to add this item to the very end of the agenda, and then if you have time towards the end of your meeting, you can go ahead and discuss that topic. My third tip here for having really effective meetings is to not shoot down people's ideas. Sometimes people share things that might feel off the wall or that might feel like not a good idea in your opinion. But it is so important that everybody who's in your meeting feels valued, feels heard, and that they can contribute and feel safe in that environment. If you're working with a team of creative people, you don't want them to feel afraid to share their thoughts and ideas. You want the space to be open and welcoming. Every idea is welcome and respected, even if it seems silly or not helpful. When you do this, you create a safe space where people are willing to share what's on their heart and mind. And this can lead to really great innovation and creativity in the future. This also invites open, honest team communication, which is so important. My next tip is to take notes during the call, not after. Write down all the decisions that you make while you're on the call in the moment. It's much harder to try and recall what happened in a past meeting, even if it was just an hour afterwards, than it is to just write down in the moment what it is that you agreed to do and who was going to do it. If you wait until after the meeting's over, a day, 48 hours, a week, what happens is your mind becomes more foggy. You can't quite remember what you talked about, and you don't really have time to go back and watch the replay of your meeting. Not to mention that kind of defeats the purpose. So take it from me, write the thing down in the moment during the meeting, take 30 seconds, it will be worth it. The next tip is to stay on time. If you said the meeting would be an hour, end on the hour. This can be especially hard if you're personally close to the people that you're meeting with. A best practice that I use to help with this is to always be looking at the clock and to give a verbal cue when you're getting close to the end of the meeting. So around 10 minutes before the meeting ends, just verbally saying, okay, we have 10 minutes left. What are the most important things we need to cover before this meeting comes to an end? Is a really powerful thing to say. It gives everyone a heads up, lets them know that you're serious about stopping at the top of the hour, and it gives them the space and time to mentally prepare for the meeting to come to an end. It is not rude to end on time. I know some people feel like they are cutting people off or that they are limiting the ability for people to share, but I promise you it's actually more respectful to end on time than it is to allow the time to go over. Sometimes you may need to say things like, to honor everyone's time, we'll need to come back to this issue in another meeting. This is also the perfect time to encourage them to send you a Loom video, an email, or a response following up on this after the meeting's over if they have any leftover questions or suggestions or topics that weren't covered. Finally, bookend your meetings with positivity and clarity. So what do I mean by this? The positivity is in starting the meeting on a high, asking everyone to share something that they're proud of, something that they accomplished, something that they're grateful for. I always start my team meetings with a celebration or a win. This really sets the tone and the mood for the rest of the meeting. And then for the clarity piece, aside from having an agenda like we talked about before, at the very end of the meeting, I have everyone go around and tell me what it is that they're going to be working on. What is their top priority? What did they get out of the meeting? By having each person clearly state their next action item, you know that the message got through to them and that everybody is doing what they should be doing. I hope that your next meeting is super efficient, super productive, super effective, and that you and the people on the meeting can feel a difference, can feel the respect of each other's time, can feel the thought and intention that went into the meeting, and they can come out of it a better person. Until next time, you've got this.